From fumbles to meltdowns, these are the worst plays in NFL history. Let's start things off during a tight game between the Ravens and Broncos in the 2012 playoffs. The Broncos were up 7 with just 37 seconds left before Joe Flacco launched a pass deep downfield to Jacob Jones. Raheem Moore, who had plenty of time to make a play, completely misjudged the pass, which allowed Jones to tie the game with a 70-yard touchdown. The Ravens won the game 38-35 in overtime and eventually won the Super Bowl thanks to Raheem Moore's mishap. Raheem Moore's lapse in judgment was pretty bad, but we're just getting started. In 2012, Michael Cannon's punt was blocked by Chiefs running back Sean Drone. Cannon recovered the loose ball in his own end zone and decided to make an ill-advised improvise. Instead of punting it again, he threw a pass that was intercepted by Chiefs linebacker Edgar Jones for a touchdown. When you're the punter, don't try to be a hero, just do your damn job. These players are too good to be getting fancy. And if you think you have a moment to relax on the field, think again. With just seconds left in the first half, the Steelers attempted a field goal that was blocked by the Bears. Bears cornerback Marcus Cooper recovered the ball and had a clear path to the end zone. But unfortunately for Bears fans, Cooper slowed down too early. Bad move, Coop. He didn't just get caught by the Steelers, he ended up fumbling the ball as well, earning himself a spot in our video. Special teams has got to be the most underrated part of football. So often games are won and lost by special teams units. In the 2011 NFC Championship game between the San Francisco 49ers and the New York Giants, the 49ers star punt returner Ted Ginn Jr. was unavailable due to injury. So in his place, they started Kyle Williams. And Williams must have been snacking on popcorn because he was playing like his hands were covered in butter. He had already muffed a punt return earlier in the game and had an opportunity to redeem himself in overtime. But instead, he let the ball slip out of his hands again. The Giants recovered the fumble and won the game on the ensuing drive. If you are Kyle Williams, then that's not how you earn a starting job in the NFL. But up next is a player who could definitely show you how to lose a starting job. In 2011, Tim Tebow and the Broncos were down in the fourth to the Patriots. So on fourth down, Tebow decided to scramble around the football field like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to avoid a couple of Patriots defenders. And the strategy most definitely didn't pay off favorably. Tebow got sacked by Rob Ninkovich for a loss of 29 yards, the longest sack in NFL history. Now that's a big loss. But you know what would be an even bigger loss? If you don't like this video and subscribe to our channel. Just go ahead and do it already, cause we're coming with the best NFL content all year round. Even after your favorite team gets eliminated by making an inexcusable error like Tony Romo did. In 2007, Tony Romo was taking the league by storm in his first year as the Cowboys starter. And in a playoff game against the Seahawks, all the Cowboys needed was a short field goal to take the lead late in the fourth. Maybe Romo should have given his holding duties to another player because he had to devote so much of his energy to quarterbacking. But hindsight is always 20/20. Romo let the snap fall through his hands like a slippy bar of soap. As soon as he picked it up, he took off like a dart for the end zone, but he was taken down just short of the goal line and the Cowboys were eliminated from contention. You can blame Romo for the Cowboys' falters all you want, but at least he was decisive, unlike this next group of numbskulls. In 2017, the entire Buffalo Bills team forgot the rules of football at the same time. The Jets' kickoff squibbed its way all the way into the Bills' end zone, and only God knows why every player on the Bills avoided the ball like it had the mumps. The Jets made their way down the field and recovered the football for the easiest onside kick touchdown of their lives. In all fairness, the Bills probably weren't going to win that game anyway, but at 13, we take a look at an error that didn't only cost his team a victory, it cost them a playoff spot. With their backs against the wall, the New Orleans Saints orchestrated an incredible play against the Jaguars. It started with Dante Stallworth dancing his way through a plethora of Jags defenders between lateraling the ball to a teammate. And the lateral relay just kept on going until the Saints had scored tons of the most sensational touchdowns in league history. All they needed was an extra point to send the game into overtime and keep their playoff hopes alive. But John Carney somehow botched the extra point and the Jags won the game 20-19. Could you imagine the death stares that John Carney received? But that's what happens when you let the team down. Speaking of letting your team down, In Super Bowl 27, the Dallas Cowboys were dominating the Buffalo Bills with a commanding lead of 52-17. Late in the game, Cowboys defensive tackle Leon Lett recovered a fumble and was off to the races. But he got a little cocky and held the ball out as if he was waiting for a disaster. Buffalo Bills wide receiver Don Beebe, hustling from behind, knocked the ball out of Lett's hand just before he scored. The play resulted in a touchback, but the Cowboys still won the Super Bowl. Fortunately, Lett's miscued and it cost his team that game. But unfortunately, Leon didn't learn his lesson, cause he was back at it again. On Thanksgiving Day in 1993, the Dallas Cowboys were facing the Miami Dolphins, and somehow Leon Lett once again made headlines for making a brain-dead play. The Cowboys blocked the Dolphins' game-winning field goal attempt, but Lett came waltzing in and touched the football when there was no reason to. His touch was ruled a fumble, which the Dolphins recovered and converted into a game-winning field goal. Making this list twice is embarrassing. But don't worry, even legends make some of the worst plays. The 2009 NFC Championship game between the Minnesota Vikings and New Orleans Saints was a thriller. In the closing moments of the fourth quarter, with the score tied at 28-28, Vikings quarterback Brett Favre had his team in range for a long game-winning field goal attempt. But Favre didn't want to put the game into the hands of the Vikings kicker. Instead, the aging quarterback attempted an acrobatic crossbody heave, unleashing his inner Jackie Chan. And unsurprisingly, the ball was picked off by Tracy Porter. The Saints ended up winning the game and eventually the Super Bowl. We still have no clue what Favre was thinking, but I guess we shouldn't be too surprised. The guy was never afraid to sling it, but sometimes being too aggressive can lead to major mistakes. In 1978, the New York Giants had a 17-12 lead and only seconds left. But for some reason, they decided to run a play instead of simply kneeling to end the game. Quarterback Joe Pisarcik botched the handoff, and the Philadelphia Eagles' Herman Edwards scooped up the fumble and returned it for a game-winning touchdown. From coaches to players, the entire Giants team can be blamed for that disaster. But at least the Giants weren't the worst team ever. That title goes to the 2008 Lions. The 2008 Detroit Lions were historically bad. They went 0-16, but one horrible play stands above the rest in their shameful season. Deep in their own end, Dan Orlovsky took a snap in shotgun and must have completely forgotten where he was. He ran right out of the back of the end zone for a safety. The play handed 2 points to the Vikings, contributing to the Lions' narrow 12-10 loss. The Vikings were basically handed free points, but typically the franchise isn't so lucky. In a tense 2016 wildcard playoff game between the Minnesota Vikings and Seattle Seahawks, kicker Blair Walsh had the chance to secure a victory for the Vikings with a 27-yard field goal in the game's final moments. But in typical Vikings fashion, Walsh botched the kick. Blair, you have one freaking job! Man, I am so glad that I am not an NFL kicker. It's easy to blame the kicker, but up next is a player who blames someone much more almighty for his mistake. In 2010, Stevie Johnson was wide open, ready to score a game-winning touchdown. But Johnson, who was having an impressive season, dropped the ball. And guess who Johnson blamed after the game? God. Way to take accountability, bud. Well, at least we're still holding Stevie accountable for his blunder. That's pretty low. But at number 5, we have a quarterback that couldn't blame anyone but himself. In a December 2015 game, the Washington Redskins were driving down the field. With only 6 seconds left in the first half and no timeouts remaining, quarterback Kirk Cousins needed to take a quick snap and spike the ball in order to stop the clock. But Cousins suffered from a complete brain fart and kneeled instead, in turn running down the clock to halftime. We all make mistakes, but most of us aren't getting paid millions of dollars to throw a damn football. It's true, these guys get paid the big bucks, so they should probably err on the side of caution before taking stupid risks for no reason. In 2008, wide receiver Deshaun Jackson caught what seemed to be a 61-yard touchdown pass for Donovan McNabb. Perfect pass right in the breadbasket. But Deshaun dropped the football right before crossing the goal line. And to top it off, he started celebrating like a total jerk-off in the end zone, not realizing that he just made one of the worst plays in NFL history. While Jackson's fumble was cringy, the result ended up not being that bad. His teammate had his back and recovered the football, so the Eagles still scored a touchdown on the drive. But no one had this next player's back. In 2015, the Colts ran a baffling special teams play. They must have thought they were playing Red Rover instead of football or something. They lined up in an absolutely hopeless and illegal formation with poor Griff Whalen left all alone in the backfield like a juicy steak dinner. As soon as the ball was snapped, flags flew like confetti and Whalen was eaten up by a garage of Patriots. A play that was truly innovative for its stupidity. The Colts play would probably be at the top of our list if this next one didn't cost its team a Super Bowl. The Seattle Seahawks seemed only moments away from securing their second Super Bowl championship. First and goal, on the 1-yard line with the most feared power back in the entire league on their roster. This isn't rocket science, but instead of handing the ball to Marshawn Lynch, the Seahawks ran a passing play, and guess what? It was picked the F off. Serves them right. Malcolm Butler's interception won the Patriots another Super Bowl, while the Seahawks coaching staff had a whole lot of explaining to do. To this day, Seahawks coach Pete Carroll still tries to justify his play call. But in our number 1 spot, we have a moment so horrible that there is absolutely no justification for it. For the worst play in NFL history, we have to go all the way back to 1965. Usually we have a bit of a recency bias, but this play is so abysmal that it just had to take our number 1 spot. Jim Marshall recovered a fumble for the 49ers and took off for the end zone. Only problem, he ran the wrong way. That's right, this bozo took the ball all the way through the back of his own end zone for a safety. And almost 60 years later, he still holds the crown for the worst play ever. There you have it. Those were the worst plays in NFL history. If you liked this video, don't forget to smash that thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, click on one of the pictures currently up on your screen in order to watch more of our epic NFL videos.